Breaking news, everyone. The White House are lying liars who think you're stupid. In a literary version of Ipecac, the New York Times ran a puke-inducing tribute to Obama foreign policy aide Ben Rhodes, who, during a tongue bath given by a drooling journo, dropped a bombshell. Rhodes bragged that the White House deliberately lied about the Iran deal, telling the media that U.S. negotiators were dealing with Iranian moderates when they were really dealing with American-hating hardliners, toadies personally chosen by the Ayatollah. More proof that Obama flacks put his legacy before our security. They claimed that these adversaries were peaceful moderates to mask Iran's nuclear plans while allowing for America to shaft allies like Israel. It's crazy stuff. Something tells me if this were a Republican regime, Pulitzers would be won and impeachment would be in high gear. But instead, this caper is cast as a victory. And so to sell this crappy deal to America, we learned the White House served up so-called experts to trick gullible reporters and use pliable plants in the press to airbrush this deed. Why would Rhodes admit to such things in the New York Times? Because he thought it was awesome. He also assumes the media, being sympathetic groupies, wouldn't care. And for the most part, he's not wrong, because it wasn't just Obama who wanted a legacy. It's his adoring fans in the media who wanted it, too. Like parents watching their son from the stands in Little League, he's their little guy swinging at junk. He's simply the bomb, even as Iran gets one. All right. This article was like 75,000 words. It was horrible. Kimberly.
You used your little deli counter? You're like,
yeah, I forced myself to read it. This must make this deal, it's corrupted. It's corrupted. I mean, it's got to be destroyed.
You would think, because it basically undermines the whole foundation and core of the deal to show that this was like put together like some bizarre bad episode, poorly rated on West Wing. You know, yeah. I mean, what is going on here? Is it like, pinch yourself? Is this real life? Is this who's deciding foreign policy and national security? And when you translate that to the coming election, do you want somebody who was like the right arm of the foreign policy, Hillary Clinton, part of this like Hollywood bamboozle?
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Yeah.
The deal. It wouldn't have mattered what the general public thought of the deal at all. They were going forward with that deal. So the fact that they perpetrated a lie upon the public, they were still going to go for it. It wouldn't have mattered.
It would have been a different lie.
It wouldn't have, they would still have done it, just the way he does everything he wants to do. President Obama goes around Congress, goes around the American people, the public. But it does point out why Fox News is important, because we were asking these questions throughout. Yeah. Meanwhile, the White House was feeding this group of press who just ate it up and, like, as you said, lapdogs or whatever you call them, and never asked questions, never pushed back. Democracy can't work unless media pushes back on government, especially when they're telling you lies, and you see lies happening. We at least tried to push back. The Constitution provides for the free press. It's the only job protected in the whole document. It's the only one. And it won't matter unless the free press asks the question and pushes back hard, instead of just accepting everything as is.
Dana, this guy, was it his ego? Like, okay, so they perpetrated this hoax. Couldn't he just kept it quiet? But he had to brag about it,
That's immediately where my mind goes, which is, so who in the White House press office was responsible for shepherding him through, or maybe didn't have anybody, but usually you do have a press person with you during interviews. You do that, you know, any big corporation and the government, they tend to do that. Ben Rhodes has often said that he's very happy being a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. But the temptation for a little bit of fame in New York Times Magazine was bigger than that. And I do wonder, imagine, if this is the equivalent. Imagine if Condi Rice had done an interview with Vanity Fair on her way out, cover shot, beautiful pictures, and says, oh, by the way, that WMD thing, just a story we made up.
Yeah.
Didn't happen,
Then, I mean, you can imagine just the outcry. It would be the opposite of what's happening now.
Exactly.
Excuse me while I have a drink.
Yes, there you go.
Oh.
Juan, I would love to see you defend this article. Did you read it?
I read it. I read it in great depth. I read it twice. But you know what's interesting to me is clearly there are reporters on both sides who feel that they are being thrown under the bus by Ben Rhodes, because the way he describes reporters is a lot of 27-year-olds who have no experience.
I think I have that quote.
We have. I'm sorry, you want to use it?
Yeah, let's look at that quote real quick, and then I'll go to you, Juan.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not.
The average reporter we talk to is 27 years old, and their only reporting experience consists of being around political campaigns. That's a sea change. They literally know nothing, Juan. We created an echo chamber. They were saying things that validated what we had given them to say. Juan, that is brutal.
Right. So I think there are lots of reporters who say, you know what, and I think Julie Pace said this on Fox News Sunday, that the Obama administration thinks they're the smartest kid in the school.
Yeah.
They're not only the coolest kid, they're the smartest kid. And it's arrogance, I think, on Ben's part when he's running over these kids because, look, there are a lot of inexperienced reporters, and the way Twitter works, and I hate to say this, you would know, but you would know, the way Twitter works, you know, people repeat stuff that's crazy while in the middle of the night Donald Trump is tweeting stuff, and so the reporters say, oh, this came from the White House. They just repeat it. Now talk about stupidity, right? But you can use that. And here's the second point. So Rose is so convinced that setting a narrative is now an ingenious way to manage media that, in fact, he ignores the reality of facts and truth. And I think that's where he gets in trouble. I don't think that this is, by the way, new. I think all administrations do this. I think earlier today I said, you know, I remember President Reagan called the MX a peacekeeper. You know, people talk about supply-side economics so they can cut taxes for the rich. That's the way people build narratives. And he actually was doing a very important role for the administration. But when you start changing facts, and the key here is he said they were negotiating with the moderates.
Right. When,
in fact, as James Rosen of Fox has pointed out, they began negotiating with the hardliners much earlier.
And it also does make you wonder about, I mean, you know, there was the accusation that the United States was slow to help the Iranian Revolution. Remember all those, what they call the Green Revolution.
Right.
And remember, 3 secretaries of defense have resigned during this administration. What is the one thing that they've all said that they have in common? Their problem was the interference by the national security team, and I think that they're probably meaning this young man.
That's I didn't even think about linking the Green Revolution, how we let those people just go,
but they
linking it to this.
Right, but now they're mocking it. It's what, you know, it's like what we always knew, and now it's somehow they, like, tranked him in the neck at the New York Times, and he actually just, like, spilled it all. He's like, yeah, truth serum, yeah, we're making fun of all of you. That's what it seems like, but it's what we suspected, what we knew, but the problem is it just highlights overall a feckless foreign policy, not grounded on solid judgment or people in the theater or troops on the ground actually determining what should happen. I mean, it's very like cowboy foreign policy with like no good purpose.
I don't think
a competent cowboy.
No,
yeah,
no,
like
no.
not
You guys
like
are going. See, this is where you go way, way too far.
Naked cowboy.
This does not speak, as Eric was saying earlier. This does not speak to the heart of the deal. And the defense, by the way, Rose is under such pressure now from everybody. He's responded.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. You know, Juan's amazing. Let's go to the response.
Yeah.
I think we have this. Every press corps that I interacted with vetted that deal as extensively as any other foreign policy initiative of the presidency. A review of the press from that period will find plenty of tough journalism and scrutiny. Look at that. Why did he do that? Because he's embarrassed.
Can I be skeptical here?
Yeah, sure.
They're not stupid. Ben Rhodes isn't stupid. Ben Rhodes didn't go rogue. There's a reason for this article. There's a reason for this piece. Now, I'm trying to figure, is it because he wants to call the press out, tell them to toughen up a little bit because they're, I don't know, is it for a Trump presidency, preparing for a Trump, or is it preparing for them for a Hillary? Either way, I think Obama would be the other side of that, saying, toughen up, go after those guys harder, and they win. The Obama administration wins. Tougher on Trump or Hillary.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why.
You think he failed? You think he just... Oops, I slipped, and you guys all saw it.
I don't think he slipped. I think he really feels like, you know, I am so smart, and I'm going to show you how this thing works. And the thing is, it's not Democrats, and it's not just everybody now plays the media control game.
Yeah, but now, Juan, now this could have happened. This article could have been written. He could have said the exact same thing January 23rd after the new president is sworn in.
Yeah, I agree. They did the piece now, and it's not on. By the way, it's not only him. There are other people in the piece saying the same thing about how we get these lazy reporters to tell our story.
What about when Iran captured 10 sailors and they decided to kind of hold off on reporting that because they didn't want to ruin President Obama's speech? That's crazy stuff.
He does have a decent point about a concern that people in journalism have had for about 25 years, which is the closing of foreign bureaus all around the world. I mean, there aren't reporters in those capitals. Like, we know that when we have breaking news if there's a terrorist attack in a remote region of the world. You used to be able to send your Moscow correspondent and he could be there in a second. So that doesn't happen anymore. So there isn't that on-the-ground intelligence. It's the same problem that we have in our intelligence forces with not having enough human intel on the ground. So you need that in journalism as well.
We have Amy Kellogg, don't we, in our London?
We do. But she's like,
so,
that she's spread very thin.
Yeah.
And
so the response, though, that I was getting...
What about Israel?
Well, okay.
They've got to be livid. Because they were the ones that were saying this was a lousy deal. Please, please, please listen to us.
But this has nothing to... The inside of this deal is not impacted by the narrative that's being sold by the White House and Ben Rhodes. If there was an actual lie, if there was corruption inside the deal, I can see your point. But this is about how you present information and choosing the emphasis. By the way, on the 10 sailors... I think that you want to protect their lives.
It's also laughing at the American public, too, for buying into all the stuff that they were selling and having the complete media, with the exception of right-wing media, Fox and a couple other outlets, saying, hey, hold on, we're not sure this is a good deal. We're not sure that Iran won't back out on their deal or cheat on the quotas and whatnot.
Wait, that's a different issue totally.
No, not really, because that kind of it kind of appeased everything. How many times have you heard, oh, Fox News, the echo chamber on the right? Well, guess what? Turns out the echo chamber was on the left, and Fox News was just raising the red flag.
Well, that's cool. I think that's very important. I believe strongly in reporters challenging the powerful. I love it. That's what I think the whole mission is, like a priesthood.
But not in, being in duplicity, not in this. I mean, they treated the American public like, oh, shucks, Charlie Brown.
No,
like, that's what it's like, and nobody appreciates that.
Kimberly.
Right, okay, but the bottom line is they were essentially perpetuating a fraud upon the American people and thinking it's funny, and then he was cocky about it. I think he was on purpose did this. It's straight-up narcissism, thinking he's better, brighter, smarter than everybody else, and I can play all of you, and I can run around these young reporters like puppets, and they will do like Pavlov's dog, whatever we say, tell them to think. That's it.
The last word is I think that another place where Ben Rhodes might have caused some problems for the White House would be on Capitol Hill, because it was members of Congress like Senator Corker, who was like, fine, okay, he stuck his neck out. He's like, okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And he got ridiculed by the rest of the right. And so I bet he was mad. And also, I would not miss special report tonight if Charles Krauthammer is on the panel, because if anyone had the right to say, I told you so, it's Charles.
I have one other possible reason for this.
Yes.
He got in an argument with his brother over dinner, and they decided to take it out on him. Look it up.